because we spent almost 2 hours talking about if you weren't afraid. That's 2 hours longer than the norm for a seminar. Even for the fucking meathead dunces that you are, that speaks volumes. I've been doing this a long fucking time. I've seen it all. Till yesterday. And if you remember, you were reluctant to come forward in the beginning, right? Then we couldn't keep your fucking mouth shut. We had at least 2 or 3 revelations. One from VMI about his past life. Do you really understand? Or are you just looking at me like a fucking thick shits? He was afraid of losing money that he made. That's typical of a cheap fucking Dutchman. Back in the old days, in the days of Adler and Freud, not Anna Freud, but Sigmund, when psychotherapy first came out, they didn't call it psychotherapy, they called it psychoanalysis. It was, you had a patient and you didn't wait for them to bring up the shit, because 9 times out of 10, it was the same shit. So the therapist or the analyst used to rip it out of them and get their problems out on the table. And the sooner they got the problems out on the table, the sooner they could discuss them and deal with them. And in some cases, you couldn't deal with them. And like I say, in some cases, this fucking gig ain't for you. This motherfucking dog won't hunt for you. You can't get up off the, dogs sit on the porch and lick their balls. You can't get up off the porch and go and pee in the tall grass. You just can't do it. And the sooner we find that out, the better. This gig ain't for everybody. And that's why you took the step to get here. That doesn't mean a goddamn thing. So in the old days, Adler and Freud and a few other guys, and 1 or 2 gals, developed psychoanalysis. And sometime yesterday I said, words to the effect, that this seminar really is the psychology of the high performer. And the opposite is the lack thereof. There's a lot of guys, and you're going to see a slide sometime today, of a guy that used to be the lifting partner of Schwarzfucker. And he was the poster child for the 1984 Olympics, a black guy. And because of choices, prisoner of our own choices, he decided that he was being taken advantage of. And so he stopped letting them promote his magnificent body after the 84 Olympics and made no money. And the died here recently in Venice, homeless. And he used to take pictures with people. They used to put $5 bills in his trunks to take pictures with him. And even in his late 60s, he was built pretty fucking good. But you're here because you're a prisoner of your choices. What we're doing here is trying to unlock the fucking prison cell. But not everybody wants to get out of the prison cell. And you've heard about, or maybe you haven't heard about, you've heard about people that like prison. 3 meals a day, exercise, right? And they do something, as soon as they get out, they get right back in. Well, not everybody wants to get out of this fucking whatever the hole you're in. But for sure, I learned a long time ago that if I try to get back in the hole to pull you out, then I get pulled back down in it. And then it takes me longer to get out. So I stand up there and I kick you in the face. And only the ones that really want to get out of the hole get out. But we spent 2 hours. 2 hours. And Because life really is limitless if you're not afraid of anything. And there's degrees, there's psychos like me, but I mean, away from psychos like me, kids normally, and I gave the analogy yesterday, are afraid of the dark. Normally. In fact, I'm not sure I've ever seen a little kid that's not afraid of the dark. And there's a whole psychological theory about in the womb, I'm not going to go there. That's all horseshit. Okay. But there's a whole, they go from the comfort of the womb, right, where it's dark, into the light. And then, but that's too esoteric for me. I like a simple, slam, bam, boom, boom, thank you, ma'am. I'm not into that esoteric shit. And the kinds of questions that you've been asking are based on your insecurity, your lack of self-esteem, your lack of self-worth. Because even if I had a 3-year-old kid here that did this shit, some of you would think, well, that 3-year-old's got it on me. Can't talk. He seemed to get a chairman. He got those fucking bands. I don't know. But I mean, he must have voodoo shit. There'll be somebody in this room would think the 3-year-old, and you couldn't do it, but he could or she could. That's the level that we're at now. It's a sad motherfucking commentary. And my dad was right when that first Tampax, Kotex commercial. It was the beginning of the end of mankind. He just didn't understand. It was the financial beginning of the end of mankind. He thought it was the morality of it. You saw last night, I'm going to skip to Love Doesn't Get the Job Done. Love Means Zero. By old Nick, who I've talked to. Tried to get him here, and anyway, it didn't work out. He tried to get me to do a deal in New York City at the this year's United States Open, tennis, in Flushing. I think it's in Flushing, New York. Okay, and it didn't work out. Couldn't even remember his 8 wives, which I find amusing myself. What's the take, other than yes, sir?
You only cared about results?
187 champions, if I remember correctly, something like that.
Doesn't think, it just reacts.
When you're just the opposite. All you do is think. The only time you're not thinking it for the guys is about the last 4 strokes. Boom, boom, boom. Then you're not thinking. That's about the only time. In the meantime, you're trying to keep your heart on. You don't want to come too soon. And then the last one, oh, fuck it. Boom, boom, boom. I've lived my whole life. Boom, boom, boom. And I got more ass than a toilet seat at a bus station. Going boom, boom, boom. What else about Nick? Yes, sir.
You had a short-term memory?
When you got a short-term memory, it's tough to remember all the failures that you made. What else?
He doesn't dwell on the past, just moves on. Doesn't care about any more.
Now, does it sound like you guys in this room? No. No. What else? Yes, sir.
If he thought somebody wasn't performing, he would just cut ties with them and kick them out.
What a savage person. Just ruthless. Success leaves clues. You didn't have to come here to hear, Nick's movies on Netflix or whatever, What else?
He has a big ego.
Well, all these guys got big. If you haven't figured that out, they all got big egos, yes.
No hanging, no weekends, no chilling.
Not very Dutch. When Sally and I were there for Michael Pillarfuck's deal in May, we were staying at the Amstel Hotel. And we're on the canal there, and having a espresso or whatever in the morning. The sun, Sally said, I think we're chilling again. We were waiting for Vinica to come down. The Netherlands and Sweden, there's a lot of places that are nice to just sit. But see, when I sit for 5 or 10 minutes. And then I'm nervous. Sally can tell when my leg starts twitching. And because you guys have emails on your phones, don't you? Not me. Well, I don't even turn on my phones. And I've never put my emails on my phone. So I don't give a fuck what anybody emails me. And I have 3 phones, 3 toll numbers so my kids can call me wherever I'm in the world toll free. I never get a call. Well, they're not on, so even if they called, it goes as answer, and they know that they got to call Thelma or Kim, depending where I am in the world, to make an appointment to talk to me. I can't imagine living my life where I got my emails on my fucking phone. Now, you have led yourself to believe you're more efficient. You can follow up quicker, right? 30 years ago, it took roughly 30 days to do a $100 million deal on Wall Street. Roughly, plus or minus 2, 4, 5%. Today, it takes 45 to 60 days to do a $100 million deal on Wall Street, and we got computers now. Now we've got computers. How is it that the time frame has increased between 50 and 100% when we're supposed to be faster, right? Why is that? Because we got nobody, the guys running the numbers have no balls. They're the snowflake cunt vagina, just like I described. 95% of the people running money worldwide money, all the money that, the trillions, have never experienced a down market. Do you understand intellectually what that means? They've never experienced a down market. A down market is, bid and ask. There are no bids. Your little 401k are going to go to zero. Fucking zero. Your little retirement fund's going to evaporate to nothing. And I'm going to be so fucking happy. I won't know whether to shit or go blind. Nobody ever talks about it on CNN or, how when the Forex commercials they got on television? If you read the fine print, 87% of all Forex transactions end in a loss. 87% of all Forex transactions end in a loss. Does everybody understand what that means? For you currency traders, my fuck. 87%. Back to Nick. What about Nick? Yes, sir.
Anyone can be programmed for success. Doesn't matter where you come from.
I don't know, Stretch. We're going to turn you into a boxer now, I think. You're right. And the sooner you get them, and that's why these kids, 13-year-old kids that make $100,000, that's hard, that's even hard for me to believe it, even though I made them. They don't even know what to spend the money on. Where in your case, if you should make $100,000, you've got or your significant other, a slag, we'll figure out a way. By the way, I've never had a woman, and if I had kept track of the guys, I probably could say the same. I've never had a woman that it was hard for them to get used to being rich. Never. Ever, ever, ever. In my 26 years of coaching and my 50 years in business, I've never, ever, ever met a crack that had trouble learning how to get rich. Never. Why is that? Whether they're Muslim, it doesn't make across the board. In Ethiopia, it doesn't matter. They've somehow figured it out. We got a guy we're going to talk to today or tomorrow. That was dead broke, and now he's rich. And he talks about buying cars and just like Anelli yesterday talking about buying that fucking Mercedes, whatever, that piece of shit, dog shit car. Anyway, but he stepped into it. First he bought a Lexus, and then he bought a Mercedes. But and now he's wearing 2,000 euro sports coats. And before they used to, but it still bothers him to, now listen to this. It still bothers him to spend 200 euros on dinner, him and his wife. Sally said, other than a bottle of wine, what are they doing? 200 euros for dinner. Now, I guess that must be a lot of money because a lot of you are not saying anything. I mean, that's about $240 for dinner, for two.
For both of them?
Yeah. And they still have trouble doing that. They still have trouble doing that. And that's why I say, go to restaurants you can't afford, go to clubs, okay. About Nick again. What about Nick? Yes, sir.
He's a life coach more than, that's what Boris Becker says, that he's more of a life coach than a tennis coach.
And a lot of people have said, I don't agree with this. This is a life program. QLA. Because you won't just make a lot of money. Your whole life is going to change. You're going to be, it's not, you're going to be, you're not going to get rid of your pleasing personality, being a pleaser 100%. Some of the guys that are 5-6 years into this, they wouldn't piss on their mother's face if it was on fire. Now, when you figure out, and I tell you, moms do most of it, hurt you by accident. They're not doing it on purpose. Okay? Because we've got 200,000 years of moms being told by moms, okay. But when you figure out that, your mom is the one most of you were raised by the most, hence they should take the most responsibility, right? When you figure that out, when you connect those dots, lard ass, when you connect those motherfucking dots, Mother's Day takes on a whole new meaning. Because that's who fucked you. What else about Nick? Yes, sir.
He didn't know everything about tennis when he got into it, but he knew he wanted to be the best.
Now, I know one guy that has seen him play tennis. Only one guy. And instead of at the net, hitting the balls and shit like that, I know one human being on the planet that has actually seen him play doubles. And he started in Brooklyn or wherever he started, in 3 tennis courts and blah, blah, blah. When I tell you, you don't have to know anything about healthcare. Lard ass. When I tell you, you don't have to know anything about any of these things. I'm not exaggerating. And the more you know, the harder it will be. The more you know, the harder it will be. What else? Yes, sir.
He said that the academy was a furnace. So it was just hot, and the winners rose to the top, and the losers were chucked to the side.
Correct.
I think I mentioned the minimum security prison campus.
And some of the guys, I know some of the parents that have sent kids to the camp. And camp's not like it used to be before he sold it a number of years ago. But he's still the figurehead for the camp. But when he blew out Agassi read about it in the fucking newspaper. Yeah. Which I think is precious. It's the opposite of almost everybody that comes through the seminar. The absolute antithesis. And if there's a word beyond antithesis, it's that word. And we're talking, for the YouTube meatheads, we're talking about Love Means Zero. Yeah, the movie about the famous tennis coach. Anything else about Nick? Yes, sir.
When he was coaching his students, he never made big changes. He just reframed it as small adjustments.
And it gets back to, remember, constructive criticism? When you do criticize, you want to make them small, like they're not criticizing that you're making small adjustments, because then they don't get defensive. They, meaning the employees, they don't get defensive. And you start, and I learned this from the Onassis people, especially if you've got a strong personality, or your general manager, whoever's running the people has got a strong personality. you always start the ass chewing, next time. So in other words, they know they're not being fired then, so they don't close down their mind, and they're listening. But I mean, when you chastise a 6, 8, 12-year-old kid, they just close down. They're just wanting it to be over with as quick as possible, and they want to be out the door, right? Well, employees are no different. Employees are no different. What else about Nick? Anything else? Yes, sir.
Nothing creates rage in players than competition.
Yeah. And you've heard the various people that we've listened to say getting the board's the easy part. You know, some of you will have more trouble with the accountants, some of you will have more trouble with the lawyers, and that's normally depending on your background. But the real test of the medal is getting the motivated seller to sell. That's the real, because all the rest is bullshit. You can get all the way down, and if you don't get the pricks to sell on terms that are agreeable to you, and that's part of leadership, me getting you to do what I want you to do when I want you to do it, not when they want you to do it. And there's a lot of speed bumps. The closer you get to the goal line, the more speed bumps there are. The more speed bumps there are. And that's when their nephew, their cousin, their son, their brother, all of a sudden got interested in the business because they see they're going to sell it for $3 million. Before, nobody gave a shit about the business until you're getting ready to sell it. Anything else about Nick? Yes, sir.
At tennis matches, he would make sure the players' families behind him put more pressure.
Correct. Now, see, you think wrongfully that they were there to support. No. They're there to put pressure because you don't want to fail in front of your family, your parents. And the more family members in that box, the more the pressure. Everybody, not everyone, almost everybody thinks, oh, they're there to support the little shit or whatever, right? That's not what the coaches have you there. I know coaches that pay for the family to fly there. Because most of them in the beginning of their careers are dead fucking broke, just like you. And so there's method to the madness of these world-class people. And these high-performance people that we're studying so far, case studies, if you will, I don't call them that, but are world-class. There's not too many. In some cases, there's none. There's one or two, or... And again, and if you haven't been around these guys and gals, if you haven't sat there, and not necessarily had a drink with or shared a meal, but sat down and talked about the reason for their success. It's just like when I talked to W. Clement Stone, 2001-ish, and I would never found out about personal development, how it was a fucking scam if I hadn't talked to him. And I was trying to meet him, and then he fucking went and died on me. But because it's very seldom that the books that you read or even the podcasts that they do is the real them. That's their public persona. That's the persona that they want to build their legacy on and sell your shit on. Okay, you also saw, what else did you see?
Free brain systems.
Pardon?
Free brain system.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little too esoteric for me. But you're a pack animal, okay? Going back to the lions. You're a pack animal, and there's a leader of every pack. And the guy or the gal that trains those various parts of the brain, the best winds up being the leader of the pack. Now, I've been a leader of a pack for a long, long, long time. And when I think back upon it, when I was putting the seminar together 27 years ago, the fact that I was the leader of the pack on the grammar school play area, whatever you call and I was the leader of the pack when I got in the military. And but I never looked at it that way. You know, I was also the first guy, you know, and when two sides were going to fight, I was always the first guy to hit the first guy. Always. I was always the first guy. And that has stood me in good stead, you know, throwing the first punch, okay? And but then I was Twisted Steel and Panther Fist. Now I'm more Panther Fist than Twisted Steel. But when I was, always threw the first punch. And what else did you see? You saw something else?
Programming your mind for success.
Success. And that's what the seminar is. But if you don't continue to immerse yourself in the QLA from the beginning, like they say when they get up in the morning, default crawls towards you and pretty soon engulfs you, and pretty soon then you're fucked. Then you're fucked. Fuck vis-a-vis QLA and building generational wealth. We've got guys that have been doing QLA 20 years that, I mean, have made, in 20 years, $20, $30 million, but that's not generational wealth. Generational wealth is in 3 years. If you do it right, like Josh has. Actually, he did it less than 3 years. And if you fuck it up and step on your dick in 6 or 7 years. But you still make money. You'll still make more money than your contemporaries, but you can have a family life, if that's what you want. If you can look at your family the same way before you got to the seminar and when you leave, something's not right with you. You've got brain damage. You've got early onset dementia, whatever it's called. If you can look at your parents again the same way that before when you got here, you are sick. You are sick. We had a gal here a few years ago, black gal, who her claim to fame, she was Idi Amin's mistress. Idi Amin. When she was 7, 8 years old, he used to bounce her on his lap. Her mother sold her to Idi Amin. Sold her to Idi Amin. And then when she was 11 or 12, her ass and her snatch were too sloppy, so Idi Amin sold her back to the mother. Everybody understand what I just said? When her snatch was too stretched out at 11, he sold her back, brought in a new one. And then the mom tried to sell her again because 11-year-old snatch is still pretty tight, I guess. I don't know. And so she ran away. She got away. She's now a PhD, and she went to school where you went to school, young man. She has a PhD in psychology. And she said, now that's a gross example, which happens to be true. I can't ever think in a positive light about my mom, ever. No matter what, no matter how many decades have passed. Well, if you can look on your parents in a positive note, ever, something not right. Now, that's a stretch, okay? But you're not all the way over there, but you're certainly not over here. So you're on that continuum someplace. We only did the best we knew, or we don't know what we don't know. And I don't recommend you talk to your parents when you go back about any of this, other than ask your dad, are you on purpose? Yeah. Now, we've got guys that, have 11, 12, 13 brothers and sisters. Like Josh, he's got 9 brothers and sisters. Every 12 they're on purpose. Okay? I'm not so sure the last one is on purpose, Josh, because your mom is now 45-ish, having the last kid. And that's maybe a bridge too far, but that's towards the end of the bridge too far end. Okay? Although now gals have kids, late. Yeah, 50. 50. But that means that they'll be grandparents when they're, like me, when they're 70. So I'm a grandfather since I'm 71. Okay, so I guess that, it happens. Okay, anything else? We'll talk about the other things I've passed out. YouTube, thank you. See ya. Go fuck yourselves.